What's going on, everyone? Today we are taking a look at the Troxus Lynx, which is a fat tire e-bike. Taking a look at the specs, this has a 750 watt motor, a 48 volt 20 amp hour battery, 20x4 Kenda tires, a Shimano 7-speed shifter, mechanical brakes, weighs 76.6 pounds, and includes fenders and a rear rack as well. As far as assembly goes, all you had to do was put on the front wheel, fender, bars, and pedals. All very easy to do, and if you can work a wrench and a screwdriver, you can most definitely assemble this bike as well. Taking a look at the bike itself, I have their basic matte black color, which you can never go wrong with. The design on this bike is simple, but also very sleek and modern as well. Overall, it's a very good looking bike, and I have no complaints there. It is a shame that this bike only comes with mechanical brakes. It's nearly the same price as their Explorer model, which does include hydraulic brakes. So hopefully they'll update this bike to also include hydraulic brakes as well. Coming to the front, this bike does include an integrated headlight. Then coming around back, you also have an integrated brake light, which lights up when you hit the brakes as well. Coming to the bars, you have a good sized screen. It's not color, but honestly, as long as it's bright, visible, and has all the information I need, it really doesn't make much of a difference. Sure, the color screens are good eye candy, but at the end of the day, I'm spending most of the time looking at the road and not on the screen. Coming to the bottom of the screen, you also have a hidden USB port, which has a waterproof flap on top. This is always great to have, as before I used to carry a power bank with me to keep my phone charged, but with this, that's not something I ever have to worry about. Lastly, you get a nice rear rack that has these wooden slats on it, which just adds a little more character to the bike. One of the things I just noticed on this bike is the seat on this bike happens to go the lowest of any other step-through bike I have used. So if you happen to be someone that's short, this right here will be a great bike to look at. Yeah, so first impressions, these bars are definitely kind of odd. They look like they were gonna be like BMX bars from the photos, but they're actually much taller and much longer up. So despite them looking like BMX bars, they actually put your arms at a height that you would be like on a more of a mountain bike style. I mean, they are very comfortable though, so I have no complaints there, just different from what it looks like on the photos. Church bells, probably won't be able to hear me. Yeah, so this is a pretty easy bike to pedal. It is a fat tire bike, but there's not that much rolling resistance. Granted, I do have it on gear 1 right now, which kind of feels like I'm a hamster, but let me go ahead and shift it into 2. All right, it's more natural. Yeah, it's not too bad. If your battery died on this and you had to ride home, wouldn't be that bad. I do have the fat tires right now inflated to 20 psi, so it is on the higher side. The maximum for them is 30 psi, but I'm gonna be doing all flat terrain road riding today, so 20 psi gives me a good hardness that doesn't have too much rolling resistance, because you do get more cushion if you ride them more on the lower side, but that also comes with more rolling resistance. So if you're riding off-road or rough terrain, put it on the lower side, but if you're riding on streets like me, you're better off on the higher side. But even at 20 psi, it feels nice and comfortable. This bike does have a front suspension, so that cushions out some of the bumps. Overall, definitely feels like a good bike so far. All right, let me go ahead and switch this on. Right away on pedal assist 1, you start feeling some boost. Looks like it's taking me about 9.5, 9.6 miles per hour. Shifted in number 2. It's a torquey little bike as well. 12.1. Number 3, looks like we're going 15.4-ish. This bike could definitely use a larger chain ring though, because right now, even at 15 miles per hour, I mean, I still have a good amount of resistance, but the rotations feel so small that I feel like I'm pedaling like a hamster here. So I think with a larger chain ring, this would be a perfect bike, but right now, I kind of feel like I'm really pressing through it. All right, on gear number 7, it definitely feels a lot better, but I'm sure once you pick up in speed, it's gonna start feeling the same. Let's go ahead and pedal assist number 4. Lots of torque. As soon as I hit that 4, I just felt it launch away. I'm sure you can hear that motor running now as well. Looks like we're getting about 19.3, and this is also going uphill slightly, so pretty impressive. This bike uses a Bafang motor, and this definitely feels like a great motor. Lots of power, lots of torque. I did unlock this bike before I started the ride. Very easy, just I think it was hold down the plus and minus, and then it lets you go all the way up to 99. So hopefully it does truly unlock, because some of these bikes, even though you do unlock it, it still stays locked at a certain speed. All right, so pedal assist 4 looks like about 20 miles per hour with a medium, a little bit on the faster side of pedaling. Let's go ahead and try pedal assist 5, which is the top one on this bike. We're on the top gear as well. Definitely losing resistance. .26 miles per hour. Let's see if we can get it to go a little faster. All right, I'm pedaling in Ackville tomorrow, and it looks like 26 is the max. A bigger chain ring, you might be able to touch 27, but as is, looks like you're not getting no more than 26. I love that they actually have this shifter on there. I think this is the Atlas or maybe the Altus. There's two that sound the same, but they look very similar. But this looks way, way better than the other one most e-bike manufacturers use these days, which is that cheapy looking Shimano Tourney. What I mean, it works as a shifter. There's no problem with it. I don't feel like it has a hard time shifting or anything, but it's just so big and clunky, and it has that ugly gray color, and honestly, it just looks bad. And these e-bikes all look, you know, all digital, nice and sleek. They have their lights and everything going on. Then you have that old 1990s looking clunky shifter on there, and to me that just always ruins it. So it's always good when I see one of these instead. As you can see, it's also black, so it blends in with the bars much better. Instead of being that big gear shifter on top, you just have them nicely laid out here. So definitely prefer when bikes have this shifter instead. I did not charge this battery up, so I'm not sure what percentage we're at, but right now it's showing 4 out of 5 bars, so maybe somewhere in the 80% range, around there. All right, let's go ahead and try this out. Full throttle, see what we can get. All right, so it looks like similar to most other e-bikes in this class 3 range. This is at the legal limit of 20 miles per hour maximum with throttle only. Most class 3 bikes, unless they let you unlock them, they usually are locked to that speed limit. A lot of bikes do go over that, but technically they're not supposed to do that. I mean, I do prefer when they let me do that as well, but on most e-bikes, the throttle's usually locked at 20, and then you can get a little more, up to 28, sometimes a little more if you do it with pedal assist number 5, or whatever the top number is. Yes, this is definitely a nice and comfortable seat. Not too big, not too small. Nice padding. No complaints there. With the fat tires, I don't feel the need to put a seat post suspension. A lot of these bikes, you'll feel those bumps in the back, kind of sharp and jarred, but on this bike it's not too bad. So I think just with the front suspension, you'll be good with that only. Yeah, so for the price, this is definitely a great bike. My only complaint is these mechanical brakes. Especially at this price. I mean, it's still a great price for the bike, but their Explorer model, which is the same price as this, as I said earlier, has hydraulic brakes. I think that one's about $100 or $50 more. So in my opinion, they should just ditch the mechanical brakes, raise the price on this bike slightly, and it'll be a much better bike that way. Let's go ahead and test out how these mechanical brakes work. They're not bad, but also not great either. You kind of have to clamp down on them, but that's typical with mechanical brakes. As long as you do a nice hard clamp, they do brake really well. As you can tell right now, I did clamp on it harder. and it can definitely skid that back tire. It's not as sudden and grabby as hydraulic, but pretty good for mechanical brakes since they are brand name Tektro brakes. Yeah, so I don't remember what the range of this bike was, but this is a 20 amp hour battery, which is about the biggest single battery you can get on most bikes right now. I'm gonna say, based on my previous testings, you're probably gonna get about 30 to 50 miles in this bike. 30 if you're riding a little more quicker, more on the faster side, and then 50, maybe even 60 if you're going to slower casual riding speed. And then obviously if you're going full throttle the entire time, you're probably only going to get about 20 miles at the top, at the most, maybe even a little less depending on the weather. About 15 to 20, that's like if you're just gunning it the entire time. But for most casual riding, you're definitely going to get somewhere in that 30 to 60 range. All right, well, that about wraps up this video. As usual, if you have any questions at all, feel free to drop me a comment and let me know. Otherwise, thanks for watching, and I'll see you all next time.